A very good evening to everyone. I request Raghavendra ji and Ramana to present a bunch of roses to all our guests on this evening. Our chief guest today, Dr. Avinash sir, of course, is All India Vice President of Saksham. Yesterday, they have completed 100 cochlear surgeries in at the hospital, which is Cochlea Pune in Pune. But the major chunk of work that Dr. Avinash sir and his team have been doing is not just surgery. It doesn't end at surgery. It starts at surgery, or probably it even begins before surgery. So, and post-surgery, the big chunk of work is primarily rehabilitation. Primarily, it's about special education. It's also about therapy, speech therapy. And this is not easy. And that is the reason why we have invited sir to guide us on how to take it forward. So the primary work has been to build centers where speech therapy, AVT, auditory verbal therapy, can be delivered to the children in rural areas, in tribal areas, in urban slums, so that surgery does not remain just as a surgery. And if the parents think after surgery, everything is all right. But primarily it has been more of public health work rather than clinical work. So it's clinical and public health work together that the institute has been doing. So we request sir to briefly throw light on the journey, and I think then we can start off by discussing how Pranav can take the journey forward.
To talk in front of this August gathering, this is a very important issue which we are discussing. In short, in 1997, I was as young as Samira. At that time, being budding, coming up ENT surgeon, I was just thinking what could be done in this ENT world, new. So just cochlear implant operation was coming on this horizon. So I come from very modest family, medium class. So I came across one journal where House-Ear Institute at Los Angeles, America, they were asking to come for training of cochlear implant surgery. It was just beyond my capacity and imagination of going there and everything. But incidentally, it happened that my brother-in-law was recently gone there and he was settling there. And his wife happens to saw that House-Ear Institute board in front of her office. And then she made queries and then she invited me there. Then I went there. I stayed there for 4 months. I learned all the techniques of cochlear implantation in 1997. But when I was there, I came to understand that that is not the only part for cochlear implantation. Many other things are required, and which are totally, absolutely lacking in country like ours, India. Yesterday we had a function where we celebrated our 100 surgery cases. So our अधूरी, we can say उद्गाता जैसा है, अधूरी एक शब्द है जो सबसे सीनियर और पर्सन को बुलाते हैं. So Dr. Kirtane was there and he said that cochlear implant surgery is 2 hours job and rest is to be done for 5 to 7 years. And so that is what is required in that particular project. That's what I came to know. Teachers are required to teach those babies till the age of 6 to 7 years. In short, brain plasticity is there till the age of 6 to 7 years, and till that, if we could train the baby, then only baby will get trained and baby will know how to hear and how to speak. If we lose that time of 6 years, then nothing will happen. If you do good cochlear implantation, if you give good hearing aids, nothing will happen from the point of view of development of speech. So, which was most crucial thing. So I took time in that, and I tried to build the team of all this infrastructure. So then I could get hold of good audiologist who could loyal and be dependent on this, because perhaps all must be knowing that audiologists, they are mainly in hearing aids and other things, and they don't give much time for this type of work. So getting good audiologist. To be honest, I encouraged my daughter herself to become audiologist. But incidentally, she helped us for quite a good number of cases. But then now, for further studies, she has gone to Canada now and taking education there. But so, audiologist, then most important thing was getting teachers. And that was how to solve that problem. Because you do good surgery, you do good mapping sessions, you do good switch-ons and audiological assessment, good hearing aids. But if no teachers are there, nothing is going to happen. You won't believe, I visited all the institutes like Mysore Institute of Speech and Hearing, most famous in India. I went there and stayed there for 2 days. I observed what they are doing. And then I came to understand that what they are doing is good thing, but that is not practical. There, deaf babies were trained by MSLP people, post-graduation after audiology and speech. They were doing the training. So it was practically impossible to have that type of personnel to teaching. It was not possible. So then I started thinking on that issue. I got hold of 2 to 3 good teachers at that time, and then we started our center. That was prior to cochlear implantation. Then they were using BTE and teaching them. There were many programs for that, parent-infant program, AVT programs, all these things we could get help from Aliyawarjung Institute, Mumbai. And we developed our own teachers to teach deaf babies initially. 3, 4, 5 teachers we trained by doing, taking a lot of efforts for 2 to 3 years on them, so that they were good teachers. And incidentally, it happened that they started showing very, very good results. Without implant, I'm saying. And then that center got quite good recognition and babies started coming. So teachers were there. Then another important point was of funding for cochlear implantation. That is also very delicate and important issue. So for that we registered one NGO, and from government side there were 2 to 3 schemes, EDIP scheme, RBSK scheme, and then privately we created funding for those babies. So like that we started our program. Last but not the least, it happened that from many sides, from many parts of the Maharashtra, the kids started coming to our center. Then came the problem, how to teach them. Chandrapur, Amravati, Usmanabad, all these things were about 200 to 300 distant from Pune city. So our center was only limited to our limited kids at that time. So how this problem was solved, we started thinking on that. Then we took help of RCI, Rehabilitation Council of India. But there were some limitations. For getting teachers from doing the course of Rehabilitation Council of India, that is now the name of that course at present is DECSE, Diploma in Early Childhood Special Education, HI. For getting admission to that course was about 12th standard passing with 50%. That was their eligibility criteria. So most of these rural side, it was not possible. Those who were passing with 50% in 12th standard, why they opt for going for this type of course? Because there was no remuneration in that. There were no jobs in that. Still today there are no jobs in that. So that is the situation. So then we started our own program, which is known as Parent Training Program. We run it in that sense that about 35 to 40 Saturdays for 4 hours, parents, we call them the mothers of the babies, and train them for 4 hours. Practical training and theory classes. And after that when they go to their own place, they start that teaching to their baby and to other babies in the surrounding. And that gave a lot of success. And so we have got at present about 10 rural centers where these our teachers and assistant teachers, they are training. So from my point of view, this is a very challenging problem of deaf baby, congenital deaf baby rehabilitation, cochlear implant surgery, cost-wise, then teachers, that is another thing. And last, this 26th September was International Deaf Day. At that time, we have got one program of our own NGO at rural area, in Konkan area, Dapoli. So when I was taking review of that center, teacher at that place brought to our notice that one baby is not coming to that place. Dapoli, we have started that center. Our teacher was staying there, and he was giving about 8 to 10 babies. They are coming there. They are regularly coming. So one baby was not coming for 2 to 3 months. So we decided. We decided that we'll go to the place of that baby. It was 8 kilometers away from that township, small town. And it was very difficult, hilly area. Though it was 8 kilometers from our point of view, very less, no transportation was not much. We couldn't come across a single vehicle going and coming. So at that place, when we reached there, what I could understand that family is very poor, number one. There are no young members in that family to support, in the sense the father of that baby was working in Mumbai to earn bread, and mother was going on farming, and grandfather who was taking that baby to the center, he had a fall and his hand was fractured. So he himself couldn't get any medical support for that, and his hand was fractured. So he said, I can't move and I don't know what happens to my baby. So lastly, why I'm telling this, lastly it came to my mind, I was accompanied by one medical pharma person, one teacher, primary school teacher, and one medical student, and our own teacher, like that 4 or 5 group, we went there. So we sat there and we discussed how this problem will be solved. Then we come to know that we discussed and come to the conclusion that at least one person from that group, if he visited that family once a week, there will be some, we can solve this problem by giving some therapy, by training these people or local teacher. So this is what is happening, and now I think I have talked sufficiently, and we can have a discussion on all these things. Thank you.
Introduction to hearing screening was, I give the credit of introduction of hearing screening to Gandhi to Dr. Sethraman of Meenakshi Venkatraman Foundation. He along with Guna, they started the hearing screening for newborns in Gandhi Hospital, and it was, I think it way back in 2012 or 11. It was running very successfully till COVID, and we were doing many interns from the NIH, National Institute of Hearing. They would come there to Gandhi Hospital, and they were giving their services. And every Saturday, at that time Dr. Jay Venkatesh was professor and HOD of pediatrics. So all of us used to sit together and review the process. Till then, actually, hearing screening was very much new to us. Even we gave a dissertation topic to one of the postgraduates, which he presented in the state conference, and he got a medal for it. and later in Nilofer, later I transferred to Nilofer Hospital, and 2018, middle of 2018, with Dr. Santosh and others, they have started the Pranav Screening Center. So far the statistics are really very heartening. They've been doing very committed work. Of course, not only hearing screening, Dr. Santosh is helping us in other aspects also. Datri Milk Bank is a very prestigious milk bank. It's the biggest milk bank with public-private partnership. They're doing wonderful job and they're helping our babies. In our Nilofer, if you take for example, the hearing screening is done by Saksham. RBSK neurodevelopment follow-up is done in the OP separately under psychiatry OP. And cochlear implants are done in a ENT hospital. So pediatrician is nowhere involved and there is no convergence anywhere. So if these things are taken care, probably this program will be more successful. And babies born in government hospitals are better, I feel, in terms of getting screened early. Because smaller nursing homes, there is no program at all. Because a big hospital like one or two corporate children's hospital, they have strict protocols and they do the screening regularly. But medium kind of a nursing homes, there is no screening program. So those babies, they are lost. They'll lose the opportunity for early detection. So all these things we have to keep in mind while scaling up these activities.
This is very important, as all of you know that if we follow the hearing screening program, if we diagnose the hearing problem within the 3 years of period, the neural plasticity which will be there in the brain will be developed only up to 3 years. For the hearing center and for the speech center, it is up to 5 years period. So after that, even if you diagnose hearing problem, profound hearing loss, there will not be much useful to the particular child. So before 5 years at least we should diagnose, and best period is infancy. Within 1 year we should diagnose and treat the child, whether it is speech therapy or a hearing aid trial or cochlear implantation, whatever the treatment suitable for that particular child, we should do it and start it within 1 year period. That is the best time. And up to 3 years also a good time, and after 5 years it is not useful. So this repetitive test of hearing test is very important to do to be included in this hearing screening program.
If we want to give the potential to the baby, newborn baby, I think newborn screening should be made universal. For that, there should be convergence of both public sector as well as private sector agencies working together, and a good liaison is needed among the departments. Just as you said, there is a difficulty with RBSK, or there is, Madam said, there is a manpower problem. All these things have to be tackled on a war footing, and there should be an established program of screening for all the newborns so that we will not miss. And some babies, nearly half of the babies, they may require even follow-up screening also. For example, if the baby had some neonatal insult or perinatal insult, they may require serial follow-up. And some babies, they may have progressive hearing loss also. They may come to light at a later stage. So therefore, it should be an ongoing program, and there should be initiation for universal screening. That is my submission.
What I suggest is, whenever we are having some program like this, we are planning some universal newborn screening program, it should not be just limited to hearing, because at that point of contact, when we are coming in touch with the patient, we should do everything. We should be able to check the pulse oximetry, we should be able to examine the hips, we should be able to take some sample and get the cheap biochemical test done, and diagnose this potentially treatable, very, very cost effective disease conditions and initiate treatment. So that is one point which I like to make, and I agree with others that it is not a single newborn screening before discharge, a job is not done. That is maybe 5% of the job. The actual thing begins from there. So when you look at the American Academy of Pediatrics guidelines, I'm telling about America because they're the first country to start universal newborn screening way back in 1999 for all the neonates born in the entire country. Some states have started in 91 also, but it became universal by 99. And what they have told 3 timelines, 1, 3 and 6, which everyone should remember. 1 month, every child, every newborn who is born should get a screening test. Ideally by discharge, like before 2 to 3 days. If we are missing at discharge, maximum by 1 month. So it should not be beyond 1 month. And the next is 3 months. So 3 months is for the confirmatory test. we do second OAE, acoustic emissions, and BERA. All these should be completed by 3 months, and at 3 months, before 3 months, we should know whether this child truly has hearing loss or no hearing loss. And 6 months is the time by which the intervention should be done. We should not delay beyond 6 months. So if we are delaying beyond, like we diagnose some child with hearing loss at 3 months and we start rehabilitation, we do cochlear implantation, vis-a-vis a child who was diagnosed at 9 months or 1 year. So when you look at their vocabulary, it is almost like 30 to 40% of the vocabulary they are having. So even 1 year is practically speaking very, very late. It's not just late. So maximum is 6 months for intervention. So diagnosis at birth ideally, if missed by 1 month. So this should be taken into consideration when we look at their updated statement, because they already have this successful screening program for last 2 decades. So what they have updated is they are trying to reduce this timeline to 1, 2 and 3. So you can understand the importance, like we should not think of 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. Those are very delayed time points. We should be targeting much early. But the problem is to reach each and every newborn born in the state, as madam was telling. It is quite a big challenge. And the population of USA, the population density, health systems are not comparable with, like we are not comparable with them. So we should have a different approach where we try to reach every newborn born in the state or the country, maybe private setup, public setup, home-born units. Now most of the neonates are institutional deliveries, more than 97, 98%. So we should focus on all the birthing centers, maybe nursing homes, private hospitals, government hospitals, PHCs, tertiary care centers. So an approach should be formed where we are able to reach every child. And as sir is telling, only high-risk screening is not enough. We may be picking up 50%, but remaining 50% will be missed. And we should know the limitation that newborn screening will not pick up mild hearing loss. So some less than 30, 35 decibels hearing loss when it is there, they will not be picked up in newborn screening. That's why, as sir is telling, they have to be continuously followed up. So all these components should be included, and screening is one step, diagnosis is one step, rehabilitation, surgery, follow-up, education. So everything has to come into the program. Then only it will be successful. That's what I suggest based on the literature.
As you all know, reaching periphery is very difficult. But doing OAE is not all that difficult, and a little bit of training should suffice. So what I suggest is something like sonologists are there in peripheries. Instead of radiologists, they do just ultrasound only for pregnant women, and then they are catering their services. Similarly, we can make OAE technicians. They can be trained in periphery at PHC level also. Then the program can be clubbed with immunization, like we have clubbed vitamin A with immunization. So 1.5 months, 2.5 months, 3.5 months, at least once or twice they will be caught. So it will actually percolate very well and cover everybody. If we train OAE and create some certificate course, OAE trained certification, something like that.
I think newborn screening program will have a larger dividend compared to older children. So to initiate, it should start with newborn only. That is one thing, sir. The second aspect of this is, need is more pertinent in our country compared to developed world. It is very, very pertinent because most of the mothers are undernourished, most of the babies are small in size, most of them are born preterm, many of them have preterm prematurity and its insults. So they are bearing the brunt, and the human potential is not realized. I think we will have the maximum dividends if there is a universal screening program for neonates to start with. We can extend it to other age groups afterwards, because some children we have seen today morning, so many children, older children also, they are getting treatment at a later stage. Even hearing also they were not able to get. So therefore, what I feel is, as a responsible professionals, the program should be envisaged to see that the newborn population is focused.
Yes, cochlear implant program is an excellent program, no doubt about it. But please make a hearing aid program. Hearing aid program is far better than a cochlear implant program. But let the cochlear CI program continue. It's more glamorous. But hearing aid, many people, 80% of the children, 90% of the children who are deaf born can do away with a hearing aid. Up to 40, 50, 60. At least in peripheral areas, rural areas, urban, their choice, what they want, hearing aid or cochlear implant. But 50, 60 decibel children are getting CI nowadays. They don't need CI because it became a fashion. But 50, 60 decibel child will respond nicely with a hearing aid. So hearing aid popularity has to be brought up in parents and doctors, especially in pediatric age group. pediatric doctors. Many pediatricians have to be updated about the importance of a hearing aid. Simple hearing aid solves significant problems. Thank you very much.
Paul, in the very similar function held by Meenakshi Foundation about 4 years back. I asked him very simple question, very good presentation. What was done after that screening? To which there was no answer at all, absolutely. To all my ENT colleagues, I want to say that I have yet to find a mother, I repeat, I have yet to find a mother who doesn't know that her baby is deaf at the month of 4 months or 6 months of age. You understand? At the month of 4 months of the age, 100% average mother, average intelligent mother. We are talking about a hearing only, not other, as you said, there are many other things. I am not talking of that. But at the age of 4 months to 6 months, every average intelligent mother comes to know that her baby is deaf, she is not listening to her. Honestly, what happens later on is that first to get it digested in her own mentality, that takes some time. My baby is deaf. Then to explain to her mother-in-law, father-in-law and husband, that takes some time. And then when family gets convinced that baby is deaf, they don't get services. Honestly, we have to think how they will get services. That is the real crux. Suppose in universal screening मिल गया. अभी आपने, you said, what about hearing aids? It is happening like that. You are taking the sugar of the person and telling him you have diabetes, but there is no insulin facility, there is no anti-diabetic drugs. He said, why you told me that? I was happy of myself. So honestly, this August gathering, they have to think how this further audiological assessment and then teaching, then hearing aids, all these facilities, how they will be supplemented. That is the real crux. That's what I honestly feel. That should be taken care of. That's my suggestion is.
Research and project implementation and finding a solution is also very, very important. Of course, research point of view, it's a wonderful paper, but then finding a solution, I think we didn't see anything. So they presented there all the statistics and data, even in Geneva, in WHO. So I think, but we are also, frankly speaking, from Pranav point of view, we have screened 29,000, which was presented to you. We have given till now some 37 hearing aids, which is minuscule. So as Madam pointed out, what are the problems that we are facing at Pranav? I would like to put forth. Pranav is a small project, very, very neonatal project, which is in all aspects inspired by Dr. Avinash sir, what sir has been doing in Pune. We went there, we saw there, and we came and we started this. Of course, with the guidance of Sethuramanji, we started off this project. But frankly, it was only heart. And because we were already running a milk bank, we thought we will run one more project, so administration, project implementation we can do, because we are already in Nilofer. But then the magnitude of the problem is huge. And Sethuraman sir was coming to Nilofer twice a week. His team was coming and doing test. Raghu was coming as an audiologist. He is here only. And they were doing. But then we wanted to do it 6 days a week. So we started off. So a very good Samaritan, Synchrony Financial, they gave us support. They gave us support for OAE, AABR, BERA, everything, and we are doing it free. We started a speech therapy center also. The major problem that we face is every 3 months we have a new audiologist. So one audiologist is there who has been with us, but the audiologists keep changing. So as ma'am said, the manpower, I think, dedicated manpower is one big problem that we are facing. Uma Devi here, she is in Vijayanagaram. She was, I think, in India, 9th or 10th child to get a cochlear implant from Dr. Hans in Delhi. You might be knowing. So she got surgery and she did speech therapy for her child at the age of 9 years. And that guy is speaking now. He is an achiever. And that boy, he got into Indian National Institute of Design in Ahmedabad. Now he is able to speak. He is 25 years old now. Very successful. So, sir, Uma Devi madam and Sethuraman sir inspired us, and we started off in Nilofer because we were invited by madam and Himabindu Garu and Alimelu. We started. But then what we are seeing is every hearing aid. Today we had a donor, Ramesh ji. He donated 1 lakh rupees. We gave hearing aids. But who will give hearing aids for these poor people?
And batteries.
Who will give batteries? Who will give the, if there is a wire loss, who will give the maintenance fee? This is for simple hearing aids. Then we have the cochlear implant. Cochlear implant maintenance is costing everyone, I think, 10,000, 9,000, 8,000 per year. Those people are not able to even come for speech therapy. You know, what is their situation? And as madam said, we are calling every week, I think 130 people we called. We called them 4 times, 5 times. But we couldn't get one cochlear implant surgery done. And we are running behind. Now Ramana and Raghu and team are calling them, please come for second time, third time. But they are in peripheral areas. One day we cannot come, job loss, this loss, that problem is also there. So we are also in a fix. We have to send them to ENT hospital for cochlear implant, or Dr. Shobhan Babu, who is there in the government system, Gandhi. So these problems are there. So one thing, finances are not infinite in any NGO. That is a problem. So only government can take up this as a hearing aid program should come. And how cochlear implant program should be made a bit more. I think there is no money for AVT, there is no money for speech therapy, there is no money for repair and maintenance of the implant. So, and these are the actual problems. So, these are some of the things that we are facing at Pranav.
Cochlear implant is anyway under Aarogyasri. So, if government would support, sir, NHM funding is there.
I worked in Aarogyasri 3.5 years, and I have seen that out of 2,000 babies at that point of time who were operated, not even 700 children could speak. Only 700. And we did a very, very big research on that. And the primary reason was lot of people could not come for AVT after implant. Lot of parents even today think cochlear implant is done, my child will get speech. So AVT was not done, and only 1 year AVT is given, sir. And maintenance cost is not there for the hearing aid. And this is a problem that you're facing.
The most difficult problem, most important problem is again, like Aarogyasri, in Aarogyasri or ADIP, they are giving CI, they should provide hearing aid and provide a service system like, at least in hearing aid you don't have anything except providing batteries for some period. After that, once they know the child is picking up speech, child is hearing well, they automatically manage, and because hearing aid batteries are not expensive, they can manage their own. So thing is, like CI, the hearing aid program has to be initiated by government for poor people, and it has to be continued like AVT. The batteries have to be provided for a specific period. Beyond that, they can manage it.
My first question is, this discussion is only to plan for a particular group or some area, or you want to plan it for the entire Telangana? This program, when you say universal, you are planning for the nation.
We are thinking on that.
First, but to start any program, first you have to have a pilot program which you have to show some good results. That should include not only the burden, but also the success of the intervention and the follow-ups. So those results, until you are able to do the advocacy, you will not be able to achieve any program, will not be able to make any, get any money from the government. So first you need to tell that why it is important. If we say that so many children are dying, or it is impacting the mental ability of the children, the cognitive development of the children, how many getting affected, how many children are born in, say, in India, say 25 million children are born. Now, how many are expected to get this problem? If we say the data which is available says like in children, it is like 2% and it's around 7% or 8% at the adult level who have some kind of hearing impairment. Now, to have, even if you take average of say 5%, to reach out to the 5% of the population, with certain support system and intervention, it really requires a lot of money. It's a big, in absolute numbers, if you convert into the absolute number. So first if you are planning, say you want to start with the government of Telangana, before reaching to the entire state to make it universal, statewide, it is important that first you demonstrate that this is the possible way it can be done. Do we have some such evidences, some results like this? But that was like telling the problem.
But we can say definitely that I said you came little late for my.
Yeah.
We developed first scheme of and then also outreach programs. And we say that every year 15 to 20 kids who get 6 years of age get good speech and hearing and go to normal school.
Right. So that's the evidence which you have with you. And similarly, if you look at the international global data, maybe in US and many other countries, the advanced countries, they are implementing it. So if you look at the Indian data and the global data, and then you make a good document, and then you discuss across the table with the government. Now we have the programs. When you start any program in a pilot mode, it always shows you very excellent result because you are very much focused on that. I say like I was working in UN and was to implement IMNCI in one district. The results were excellent. When we wanted to scale up and later on we want to make it universal, then automatically it goes into the system, it gets diluted and gets competitive with many other priorities. So it doesn't get that kind of importance. So we scaled up to 17 districts and then it went on to the entire state. Now it is a national program. So it must have made some impact. But the kind of result you demonstrate and you show and you produce evidence in a pilot project are very focused because you want to show results and you have a very good, excellent team who is working. Now, if you are thinking, even if you are, let's say you are presuming that you want to work it for government of Telangana or state of Telangana, first just find out how much is the burden in the state. You have a women and child development, WCD department. They have a very big number of Anganwadi centers. Now that is the 1.3 years when the children they go that time starts going to the Anganwadi centers at 3 years of age, and then at 6 years, up to 6 years, and then they go to this primary school in the maybe in the village, in the same village. Now those Anganwadi workers, they have still not been trained or involved into any kind of screening. Even taking the birth weight, regular weight is not being done despite the ICDS program, which is like started in 75, and how many years have gone. Where are the weighing scales? We don't have, and we are looking at this mid-arm. I'm working on this. I worked on this also in AIIMS Bhubaneswar, mid-arm circumference, because even if you give them a weighing machine, they are not going to, after that sometime it will get broken or will not give the accurate measurement. So the easiest and the cost-effective intervention might be this mid-arm circumference, which is just like a tape, and you say if it is less than this, how can you calculate the BMI? So that work we did with the UNICEF there in Bhubaneswar, Odisha also, and one of my students did in this work on this, and even the RBSK, what we observed is just very much focused with very specific group of people who go there, do some work and come back. And then I said that what I observed is where are the public health system involved into this? They are not into this. ANMs, Anganwadi workers, Ashas, they are not into the system. They are just detecting. And then one MD student, I told you do this work, RBSK, and you see it, and that is on the 3Ds under the RBSK. And then prepared a module, train the Anganwadi workers, Ashas and ANMs, and also then you compare that whether these workers after some training are able to detect more number of children with all these 3Ds. That includes the hearing impairment also, and in the normal RBSK where there are. And with simple, that is a dedicated team, and when it is a dedicated team, the cost is very high. The cost is very high. The existing system, if they are able to do with some capacity building, with some training, they were able to detect more children. We involved one Dr. Satpathy, who is a pediatrician also, into this program, and it got published also recently. So if you want to make a program for the public health statewide, say in Telangana, or you want to do it, say 4 or 5 districts to start with, not the entire state, that will be very costly. Even if you say we want to do in this one district, pick up any one district, and then you do in certain areas, may take few blocks in that, and compare with some block which are where you don't want to do the intervention, and see the results. You might get very wonderful results. Involve the Anganwadi workers, and then school teachers, you train them, and you involve the WCD department, health department, and train the medical officers. You start with some good community-based pilot project in certain areas, and then this is a primary healthcare system where you want to work. But if you want to make an impact on this, then what you need to do is make a comprehensive project on this. You start with 1 or 2 districts, adopt them, you work in that area, and identify pay them. You want to have a speech therapist, you want to have an audiologist, you want to buy these equipments, and then also have a tie-up with the government hospitals. If you find that this child has a disability or an impairment, and that has to be, there is a program 136, what you are telling is 136. It has to be done at 1 month, 3 months and 6 months. So you can't delay things. So then if it needs the cochlear implant or hearing aids, we know that how many children they need hearing aids, and the data might be there, it must be there, and how many needs cochlear implants, it is there. So that kind of document, if you prepare, make a project, get the funding, there will be people, a lot of money will come forward to you. There's no end, because you are going to do, and this is going to make a lot of impact. After all, we get our children when they grow up, and then we find that how many of them are not even when the school, very frequently we say बच्चा 10th में आ गया, उसको 3rd class का maths नहीं आता. Why it happens like this? It's not only the education level is poor, it is also the mental ability is poor. We have not been able to detect something. Maybe it's a thyroid issue, or it's something else, or so many other things. So the RBSK is a good intervention, because so far all the government programs have been focusing on the communicable diseases. That has been the priority, having controlled many of them, including now to some extent tuberculosis, leprosy, and immunization related, vaccine preventable disease, many more. So there have been many success stories. So the focus has also shifted to the non-communicable diseases, and RBSK is also one of those areas. Possibly all the children who are identified there, we are not sure whether we are able to provide any backup or any support system to them. It's really unfortunate. So we need to find a way out. How many aids we need, cost-effective aids. If you come out and you tell the issue that we need, say, 20 million hearing aids in a year in India, for example, at this time, I tell you, there are a lot of industries which will start manufacturing it, and the cost will really come down. So, because we have not been able to highlight that to that extent, so this really needs. And next is the curriculum, which we can do, which the medical institutions, which the National Medical Council can work, is that improving the curriculum. If you find this is an important public health issue which needs to be addressed, please prepare some document, technical material, which should be included into the medical ENTs or pediatrics. It's still not there. We are not teaching in pediatrics also about these kind of requirements. In community medicine, we teach something. In pediatrics, we teach something. In ENT, we teach. So everywhere, every department, orthopedics will teach something. So we need to bring into the curriculum and see that, like we introduced IMNCI into the program, and we started ensuring they learn about it. So if you feel this is important, from bringing the good quality citizens, producing good citizens, we need to bring educate our train our students, also ensure that our nurses, BSc nursing courses, because they are the one who are into the nursing and attention which needed. Plus, we have to address the issue of the shortage of the manpower. When you say every 1 month people disappear, audiologists disappear, so we need to see that we start with certain paramedical courses and see that we have a speech therapist in good number, audiologist good number, and also any other vocational courses or even short training courses for the medical officers, 6 months courses where these things can be highlighted. So these things, the education, the system can also needs attention. So you need to work at all the levels, improving the knowledge of the medical, paramedical and the nursing staff, then also looking at the primary healthcare system, involving them, and find out some remote good area where there are not too many vacancies, where the program you feel is not going to be implemented successfully. Find out reasonably it is where it can be done. Count the cost, how much it cost, and start working on this program. I think only then we can talk about the universal hearing impairment solutions. Otherwise, just screening is one aspect. Finding a solution to that needs equal attention. Thank you very much.
And then I took the mic and I said, the population density of each and every country in West Europe is more than India. Every country's population density is higher than India. Population density of London is much more than population density of Hyderabad, out for Delhi for that matter. It's only the intent of people to do something about it, not just by saying, passing the buck on. Exactly what Sir is saying. We always talk about doctor population ratio in our country. In Telangana, as on today, there are about 5,000 MBBS seats, as on today, which are going to become something close to 7,000 within the next 3 years with the new medical colleges. And I'm not counting the BAMS, BHMS, BUMS and BNYS on this. Okay? And the population of Telangana is half of the UK. And you know how many medical seats are there in UK? 8,000. So our doctor population ratio as on today is higher than that of the UK. So we always talk about manpower shortages. That's not the case. Coming to the salaries of professionals, let's compare like to like. The NHS consultant salary, I mean, a lot of people ask me actually, what's the salary? I mean, you can go and just Google it and you'll find out. It's about £70,000 per annum, which is equivalent to 70 lakhs per annum, which is equivalent to 6 lakhs per month. And if you adjust it to the cost of living to that country, it will come to around something like 1.5 to 2 lakhs per month, which is what I'm sure almost every doctor in this country is almost there or thereabouts, even in a government job. So all these things we talk about, and you think about how much you pay for all these technicians and these audiologists over UK and in our country. Here they come at very, very, very economic price actually. I mean, you can't even imagine how much you pay for a physiotherapist or a psychologist or a audiologist. So I think all these things are there in our country. It's only the intent which is lacking. That's what I see many a time. And people like us, when we get together, we need to actually think in those lines. I think the manpower is there. I think the finances are there. It is just the intent which is lacking. And we should make much more noise, as Bhatia sir was saying, and make these things as a priority. That is what it needs. If you go to central London, the roads are much narrower, the parking spaces are much more difficult to get through. But it is the intent of the people who run the show to make sure that every single life is important, which is lacking in our country. And the same thing, every child who is born is important. That is the intent that we need to come up with. And once again, I thank the whole Pranav team and Dignitaries for giving me the time. Thank you very much.
Lastly, before we conclude, our aspiration is to have at least 25 OAE centers, machines, mobile, by 2025. So that is a uphill task that we are aspiring to have, especially. Cost of one is around 3.5 lakhs. So this is what we are aspiring to have, and Sir is guiding us in this initiative, and especially to have these in places like Essence Use, where it can be easily used. And now that we have a good chunk of team, and we have the intent and we have the content. Both are there. Intent is there, content is there. So I think we will march forwards. And cohesiveness is also there. So Fevicol is also there between intent and content. And of course, with all of this, we also have divine blessings. So I'm sure we'll all together go forward. So thank you very much.
सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति
सहनावतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ओम शांति शांति शांति.
Very nice.
Hearing impaired baby will speak. Every hearing impaired baby will speak. Every hearing